Alright, so how do you increase your damage in Diablo 4? This guild will assume that you already hit, let's say, at least level 14. You have basic understanding of your build and what you want out of it. For instance, I'm running a Shred Werewolf and I basically do a lot of poison. I'm making my enemies vulnerable and I destroy them in the process. So stuff like, for instance, overpower damage is going to be useless to me. Now, if you take a look at my weapon, there's certain stats of this weapon which I would remove, unfortunately, but I can't. However, there were other stats that I did remove. We're going to get to that later. Now look at this. I get 67.5 vulnerable damage. What if, instead of that, I was getting 67.5 overpower damage? Do I need that? Absolutely no, because I don't rely on overpower damage at all. I just have 3% to do overpower damage and I cannot really build my strategy around that. So the question is, I need to make sure, first thing first, that my weapon, which is by far your most important piece of gear, your weapon has only stats that you require. I would get rid of damage to crowd control enemies, but it is what it is. At this point I cannot change that. I do crowd control from here and there, but not that often. But the point is, first thing first, you need to make sure that your weapon, every piece of gear, has the stats that you require. And the most important part comes here. What if there is an item that you can choose to remove? And this is what I did. Look at this. If we go to this particular vendor, I hope every single one is familiar. You go to enchant and then you place a weapon. As you can see, I already enchanted it. And the more I do that, the more actually the more expensive it gets, even though it's fine for me because I have 17 million gold for now. But at the end of the day, if you take a look at all of my pieces of equipment, I already enchanted all of them in order to get the stat that I do need. If you take a look at my weapon once again, because of the enchantment, I'm getting 70% vulnerable damage, which is huge. Now, if I had, for instance, 80% once again overpower damage, I keep telling overpower because it's literally a stat that I don't need. So if I had 70% overpower damage, this is nothing. This is really zero value to my character, and in general case, it doesn't give me anything. So 70% vulnerable damage, on the other hand, gives me a lot. So basically boost my entire damage by 70%. That's absolutely crazy. So in a way, we are getting from 0 to hero by only enchanting our piece of equipment. It doesn't have to be just the weapon, but the weapon is the most important piece of equipment that you can have. If you take a look at my boots, you see I got 9.1 spirit cost reduction, which is also useful for my build. Here I got critical strike chance, really important for my build. Here I got damage reduction, which is very, very important for any build, not only for my build. And the only piece of equipment which I didn't really enchant was this ring. And the reason for that is simple. I have everything that I need from this ring. I have poison damage. I'm doing a lot of poison. I have rabies, stuff like this. I have critical strike chance, super important. I have critical strike damage, very important. And I have physical damage. I'm using all of those things. But in order to demonstrate in this video, I'm going to enchant this particular let's say affix, because I think it's the least important out of them. And if I click on enchant, there we go. I can see that I can now choose between vulnerable damage, overpower damage, and no change. But I'm definitely going for vulnerable damage in this particular case. This is something that I use a lot. So now, in a way, my ring gets stronger because it gives me 30% vulnerable damage. It's pretty cool. So how do you enchant your gears? Once again, I just showcase. The only thing that you have to keep in mind is that usually it will require this Forgotten Soul and also the Fiend Rose. You can get those from Hell Tides. Those are events in the map that will be more or less, they will be always covered in red, and you're going to witness that there's an icon that says the Hell Tide is rising, and usually those events basically last for 1 hour. So you can go to this event and farm those specific materials that are required in order to enchant. Keep in mind that enchanting, in my opinion, is the fastest and the easiest way to increase your power. All you need to do is press a button, but there is one prerequisite that needs to be met. You need to have farmed Forgotten Soul and Fiend Rose. There we go. It says that this is found during the Hell Tide, so make sure don't skip this event. At least spend a couple of, let's say, 30 minutes a day trying to farm those materials from the Hell Tide. It is really important. As you can see, I don't have any at the moment because I used everything to reroll certain stats. In majority of cases, you'll find an item that gives 3 very useful stats, and the 4th one will be total trash for your build, and you can just reroll and get something extremely useful. For instance, now I reduced the poison damage, and I got overpowered damage. Not, I'm sorry, vulnerable damage. In my opinion, for my build, vulnerable damage will do much better. Alright guys, so this is going to be all from me today. If you found this video useful, feel free to give me a like, subscribe to the channel, and see you next time. Take care guys.
Perfect.